It's time for Speaking of Speaking. Quick tips and tools to take you from stage fright to spotlight. This podcast gives you an inside look from the world of public speaking and speaking secrets you need to be bold from the stage, no matter what business you're in. The host of Speaking, Carl Richards.
Thank you, Matt. It's episode 27 of the Speaking of Speaking podcast, and today we're continuing on the Speaker's Checklist Part 3. Today I wanted to talk about presenting with authority. A lot of the times, if you are new to the speaking world, a lot of the times when people speak, they don't exactly do it in an authoritative way. You want to make sure every time you are speaking and presenting that you are positioning yourself as an expert. That's why people want to hear what you have to say. And I've seen it in networking settings a lot where people are maybe a little bit nervous or they're shy. And I understand that because if you're new to the speaking world, it's getting over all of that. However, if you position yourself any other way, what's going to happen? Or what's not going to happen? Well, people aren't going to want to do business with you because you aren't positioned as that expert who speaks. You don't have to be a professional speaker, but you do have to come across as being the expert. Okay, so that's very important. So right off the top, you want to make sure you know the material that you are presenting. You need to be very authoritative and you need to be very well versed in that material, which means you need to plan it out. We talked about that a few weeks back, that you really need to have your material where you want it to be. You need to know it inside, out, and backwards. We talked about the format of the signature talk last time. If that's the format you're taking, make sure you know all of your material. Make sure you know your stories. Make sure you know the names or the situations surrounding the testimonials that you'll be referring to perhaps. So you need to know it. So you don't want to go in cold. We'll talk about that in just a minute, actually, as far as practice goes. And the other thing you want to do is never apologize. And this is where an inexperienced or ill-prepared speaker will fall into the trap of saying something that is going to basically derail their credibility. So never say or do anything that would put your credibility in question. I've seen speakers do this, though. I've seen them get to the front of the room and say, "Thanks, everybody. I'm not very well prepared. The kid threw up in the backseat this morning and they had a hard time getting to sleep last night, and I really didn't have a chance to prepare my talk, so I'm just winging it today, so here goes." What does that do to your credibility as a professional? What do you think it does? When people say, "I'm not ready" or "I'm not professional," basically it's a red flag. I don't know about you, but I don't want to work with people. I don't want to be doing business with people who are not 100% focused when they need to be focused in the moment of being the expert. What you do in your own time, that's fine. But when you're in front of an audience, think about this logically. That real estate, as I like to refer to it, that front of the room or the stage, that's a very valuable piece of real estate. Hundreds of thousands of dollars can be generated from the stage. And experts who speak and have done so for years can prove it. I have a colleague, Diana Lidstone. We're doing a program in the next couple of weeks. I'll give you some information about that a little later on. But she speaks about how, and this is not to impress you, it's just to impress upon you, that she was able to close an $18,000 client from one 25-minute talk. Well, if you're not positioning yourself as an expert who speaks, and you're apologizing all the time or tripping over your material, you're not going to do that. So you really need to take this seriously and make sure that you are positioning yourself in that expert role. I really want to nail that point home today because it's very important. It's very important not only to you and to your business, but to the other people who rely on you in your business. If it's your family or your employees or whoever it is. So keep that in your mind. Here's another point. Engage the audience. If the audience is not engaged, if they are not interested, they will not follow up with you and they won't do business with you either. So the best way to make sure that you're keeping their interest is to engage them. Ask them questions. There are many different times in my talks I will ask the audience questions, and not general questions, but I'll come up with a couple of questions ahead of time and I'll seed those questions intentionally so that it gives the audience the opportunity to participate. An audience who participates is an audience who gains trust quicker and will do business with you quicker. Because again, building trust and positioning yourself as the expert is what the audience wants to see. So then they can decide at the end, when you're presenting your call to action, whether or not you're the person that they want to do business with. But if you don't engage them, if you don't give them a reason to follow up with you, if you don't make them a part of your talk, I will do that all the time. I will ask for a show of hands. I will ask questions. So I'll have a rough outline of my talk. I'll know exactly where I want to go from point A to point B, but I will always be engaging the audience, because the more the audience is engaged, the more they are going to see you in that expert role. You also want to make sure you are speaking to the needs of the audience, not your resume or your portfolio. I talked about this on an earlier podcast about the 3 words that are killing your business. And just a reminder, those 3 words are I, am, and I have seen business people stand at the front of the room or on stage, and 80% of their talk is all about them. It's all about their accolades. It's all about awards they've won. It's all about the great things that they do. It's all about their story and their passion. And well, that's fine, but the audience will be sitting there saying, what's in it for me? The audience really needs to know about what their takeaway from all of this is. And if all you're doing is talking about yourself and how you went to school, some fancy university or college, and then you have a whole bunch of awards on your wall or letters after your name, whatever it is, I hate to say it, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, the audience doesn't care. The audience doesn't care about your resume. The audience doesn't care where you went to school. The audience doesn't care about your needs. The audience cares about what you're going to do for them and how you are going to solve their problem. Which brings me to the next part. As you're sharing with people about how you can help them solve the problem, make sure you are doing it in an authentic way. Because authenticity, we hear this word a lot these days, authenticity wins. Just look around you. Look at all the competition in your business. How many people are doing exactly what it is that you do? What makes you different from them? Is it the fact that you have different services, you do things differently, you're open longer hours, whatever it is, you have to bring that across. You have to share that in a very authentic and real way. That's what will make the difference. A person who can do that, a business person or entrepreneur who can do that, will win every time. I have a colleague who is a chocolatier, and she's only been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now. And she comes from the speaking world, which is good because she has a solid background going into things. But she knows, number one, most people like chocolate. Number 2, she knows in spite of the competition that's out there, and there is competition, let's face it, it's chocolate. But there are artisan chocolatiers out there in my community and in other communities as well. What she does know, though, is that of all the other people who are the artisan chocolatiers like she is, she's one of the only ones who has the lineup and the training and all of that behind her. Not only that, but she is so sincere every time she speaks. Every time she speaks. She's authentic every time she speaks. And that comes across in, I hate to say it, but it does. It comes across in her chocolate. It really does. So you want to make sure that you are authentic with whatever your message is as well. A couple of takeaways from that. Be real. Be real when you're speaking. Be the authority. Always. Always be the authority. And be the solution. You are the reason why people come to you. You want to be that person every single time, not your competition. You want to give yourself the advantage of being the expert who speaks, that person who is authentic and real and the solution every single time. I certainly hope this has been helpful today. Just want to remind you that myself and Diana Lidstone have a great program that we have launched. It's called Speak with Confidence and Grow Rich. Conquer your speaking fears and grow your business. We have 2 dates for you. May 10th in Kingston, May the 31st in Ottawa. It's a full day, and you will learn in that day the 9 mistakes that might be keeping you stuck, 5 secrets to crushing your speaking fears, 3 outcomes you need to be an effective speaker on and off stage, a step-by-step guide to turning your talks into clients and cash, and much, much more. 2 coaches, basically for the price of 1, with a pricing of $597. send me an email, askcarl@carlspeaks.ca, and I will get you registered for that program. And it's one that if you are serious about being the expert who speaks and growing your business, it's one that's going to help you have the advantage over your competition. Until next time, it's Carl Richards. Get out there and own the platform.
Thanks for listening to the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Fired up about something you heard today? Want to learn more? Be sure to visit carlspeaks.ca. And don't forget to follow Carl on Twitter @CarlRichards72 or join the Facebook group Speaking of Speaking.